How would you like extra $7,200? If that is something that you'll be interested in, stay tuned for this video to find out what you need to do to receive that free money. What's up guys, it's John here at Daddy Directive, and today I'm going to talk about money. More specifically, how you can get more of it for free. Today I'm going to be talking about Registered Education Savings Plans, also known as RESPs. It is an account in which you'll be saving money for your child, so by the time they are attending post-secondary education, they could use the money from this account to pay for their tuitions and fees. So in this video, I'm going to address a lot of the common questions that parents have when it comes to RESPs, such as when can you open the account, how long can the account stay open for, how much contribution are you allowed to make, how much contribution matching does the government provide each year, does your household income affect the contribution matching at all, what happens if your child decides not to attend the post-secondary education, and can you have more than one child associated as a beneficiary to a particular account. And lastly, various scenarios in which different tax implications that could be affecting when you're withdrawing the money from the account. Now, do keep in mind that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a dad on a YouTube. So don't take this as a financial advice. And if you do have any questions before making any kind of financial decision for your particular cases, do contact your accountant and other financial professionals to get help. Having said that, if there are any common questions that I may have missed out in this video, feel free to write them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them with what I know. But before we move into the nitty-gritty details of RESPs, I would absolutely love it and really appreciate it if you smash that like button for this video. It really helps out the channel, and it will also let the YouTube know that you like this kind of content, so they will be able to provide recommendations on other videos like this where you'll be able to save more money and have more tips for parenting. If you're a new viewer, if you find this video to be helpful at all, please consider subscribing. So with that out of the way, let's talk about RESPs. So RESPs are tax-deferred registered accounts in which any money that is being contributed into the account will not be taxed until the money is withdrawn. And the money is withdrawn at the time when your child, the beneficiary of the account, decides to attend the post-secondary education. The money that is withdrawn from the RESP is only taxed at the time of the withdrawal, at the rate in which the beneficiary is paying the income tax for that year. And so in most cases, since the beneficiary is your child who would not have any income when they're attending the post-secondary education, they would not really pay any tax on it. On top of that, for every contribution that you make each year, once it reaches a certain amount, the government will actually make a matching contribution to a certain percentage. When your child is actually receiving the money by the time they're attending the university, they are benefiting from the money that you contributed, the matching by the government, and any kind of interest or capital growth that happened between the time you contributed to the account and when they're taking the money out. So how does the government matching work for your RESPs? It is provided through what's known as Canada Education Savings Grant. It is a program in which the government will match a certain percentage of your contribution for each year. Although there is no annual limit as to how much you can contribute to the RESP account, there is a lifetime limit of $50,000. And on top of that, the government will only match for the initial $2,500 of your contribution for that year, and up to $5,000 if there are any carryovers from previous years. So how much will the government match? They'll match up to 20% of your total contribution for that year. So each year, you could be getting as much as $500 from the government as a form of a government matching for your RESP contribution, assuming you're making at least a $2,500 contribution each year. There is a lifetime contribution limit by the government of $7,200. So once you've reached as much as $7,200 from the government, you're not going to be receiving more. The next common question that parents ask is, does the income level of the primary caregiver affect the government matching for the RESP? Yes, the primary caregiver's income does affect how much money you could receive that year from the government. However, it doesn't affect the total lifetime contribution that is provided by the government. So yes, Regardless of whether you're low income or high income, the total amount that you get from the government is $7,200. The difference is that if the primary caregiver's income is under $45,282 for that year, they could actually receive up to 20% more for that year. So they could potentially receive up to $600 that year. If the primary caregiver's income is between $45,282 and $90,563, then they could receive up to 10% more contribution from the government that year. So they could be receiving $550 instead of $500. If the primary caregiver's income is larger than $90,563, then they will receive only up to $500. So why does this matter? It matters because you will be able to get more money early on, which gives the account more time to grow with interest on any other capital gains that you may have by the time that your child decides to attend the post-secondary education. So what happens if your child decides, you know what, they're not going to attend the post-secondary education? In that case, the principal that you had put into the RESP account will not be taxed. However, any interest or any gains that has been accrued over time since you put in the principal will be taxed at your tax level plus additional 20%. So yes, you can only benefit to the maximum if the child decides to go to the post-secondary education. However, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use RESP plan and take advantage of this grant. Even if you were not doing anything and just putting money in each year at the minimum to get the maximum amount of the contribution matching, you're growing the money by 20% every year without having to do anything. And now, if you were able to get compound interest on that over, let's say, 19-year period, that is a substantial amount of free money that's just being accrued into the account without you really having to do anything. So do absolutely take advantage of this if you can afford to do so. So is it all lost if your child decides not to take the post-secondary education? No, because they don't actually have to make that decision when they come straight out of the high school. They do have some time afterwards as well, because RESP accounts can stay open up to 31 years from their opening date. So if they decide not to go to university once they graduate high school, they do have another 10 years to make that decision. However, if they do decide not to go to post-secondary education after that time as well, any kind of money that is provided from the government as a form of grant will need to be returned, unless there is a sibling with the contribution room left that you can transfer to. In addition to that, if you do have to close the RESP account, you do have the option of moving that money to either your or your spouse's RRSP, standing for Registered Retirement Savings Plan, so that you don't have to pay tax on it at that particular time at your tax level. By putting it into the RRSP, you can defer the tax obligations until much later when you retire at a lower tax bracket when you withdraw the money from your RRSP account. And lastly, you don't have to have a separate RESP account for every one of your child, but you could have a one account as a family contribution plan. One thing to keep note is that you do have to keep track of the contribution amount for each of your child, even though they're in the same account. Guys, I hope now you have a better understanding of RESP now, and I hope this video has provided some value to you. As parents, we are always looking out for our children, and having this savings so they have the option to attend post-secondary education in the future without having to worry about student debt is one of the best gifts we can give as parents. I hope you found this video to be helpful, and if you did, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. I post on Mondays and Thursdays, and I'll try to make videos that will be helpful and useful to you. So thank you very much for watching, and happy parenting.